Hey! Sometimes the fat guy overshoots the mark when he lands on the chair like that. If that poor chair could talk, it'd probably be screaming, right? Just got done outside epoxying the speaker back together on my car. I could buy a new speaker for $40, but I figured I'd 5-ton epoxy it, and it worked. I love fixing stuff. Necessity is the mother of invention. If I had a bunch of money, I'd just be like, the heck with it, I'd buy a new speaker. I don't need my reference card for this. I've been doing a lot of testing on the X-T4. This is a really killer camera, and this video is not a review about the X-T4. Sometimes new cameras from companies, whether it be from Fujifilm or otherwise, are vertical improvements. Sometimes they're lateral improvements. I can actually easily say that this is both a vertical improvement, drastically so, and a lateral improvement. Combined with the fact that Fujifilm is going to come out with a 300mm f4 and a 500mm 5.6. And by the way, I forgot to mention, the 1.4 teleconverter is going to fit on the 300mm f4, definitely not on the 500 5.6. Also, too, Fujifilm has two 1.4 teleconverters. There's the one that shipped with a 200mm, and there's a much earlier one that they made independently for use with the 50 to 140 and the 80mm macro. As someone that's owned so many cameras and still does, and I know everybody thinks I'm a gear maniac, and it's okay to think that. I'm actually much happier out shooting pictures. I've been out today like for 5.5 hours today shooting. Done a lot of testing with the X-T4. This is such an amazing camera too, by the way. I really do mean that. It's one hell of a friggin' camera, especially for the money. I wished I had the vertical grip to test with this. But I can honestly say, when we have a lack of perspective, we kind of don't know where we are with things. Kind of like if we all grew up, dirt poor, eating nothing but oatmeal and hot dogs, we'd have no idea what like a good meal would taste like, right? It's like, well, there's hot dog and oatmeals and microwave dinners, and we would have no perspective. And that's kind of when people ask me questions about, well, what about so-and-so lens? I think this lens goes, I think, oh, compared to what? It's kind of like the pat answer to virtually everything. It's like, well, compared to what? I've got an extremely broad perspective of lenses, and not only that, but of cameras. But I can tell you that I honestly don't know, where I would be as far as in a broader spectrum of cameras without all the stuff that Fujifilm has come out with. And this is going to sound like a commercial, but I really mean this. I had so many thousands of emails, and I'm not exaggerating, so many thousands of emails all the time, countless ones every day. Oh, thank you. I love my Fujifilm camera. This is, the best thing since sliced bread. And I still love Nikon. Got tons of Nikon stuff. But I'm really so incredibly enamored with Fujifilm quality, their updates, their attention to detail. There's no such thing as a perfect camera, and I've never said that Fujifilm was flawless. I talked about the issue they had with their poor lens cap design, but they fixed that. I talked about the poor placement of the Q button on the X100F, and they fixed that. And, I'm not saying, everything they do is golden, but the percentage is extremely high. I'm way more impressed. Let me make a bold statement. I'm way more impressed by where Fujifilm is right now in general than I ever was at any peak of wherever the hell you thought the peak was with Nikon at any point in time. Went to photography school. All we did was talk about cameras and pictures, and we go out in photo outings, and I've shot more film than God and processed more film and just ran so much paper and stuck my hands in so many cancer-causing chemicals in the dark room for days and days and weeks and years. And I still do love Nikon, but I've never been so impressed with by any camera company. It's like, even if you forget, it's like you got all the money in the world, all these cameras are $100, okay? Which is stupid, but just imagine that were the case. The most expensive Nikon versus the cheapest Nikon, most expensive Fuji, say every camera was $100, which of course is totally impossible. You got all the money in the world. Well, I'm going to get the 150 megapixel phase 1, right? Well, that camera is a house cat. It's slower than a constipated turtle. It's pretty, its autofocus is completely abysmal. It's like, well, every camera's $100, right? Why not take 150 megapixel phase 1? Well, if you're going to pack a tripod around with you everywhere and you got good lighting, still not yet. I mean, the point being, yeah, I'm coming to the point here, is that I've actually never been so impressed by any camera company as I have by Fujifilm. And I just got done making a video saying that Fujifilm needs to fix the issue, not with the X-T4, but with the fact that there is a lack of an external battery charger in the box. I think that should be remedied, and I listed the 4 reasons why and how they could do a really cheap fix around that. And so, anytime that there's something I think that needs attention, I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest, but I'm going to be fair and logical and nice. I'm not going to, post, foaming mad dog rants. If I say something is, an issue, I'm going to give their logical reasons why and postulate an answer to the solution, because merely, whining or complaining about something never has fixed anything. You say, well, this is what's wrong with it, and this is how we could fix that. I still think Fujifilm needs to fix their lens hoods, because the superior lens hoods are nylon filled. These are injection molded plastic, but there's nothing wrong with that, but that makes the locking point connectors very fragile. I hope and pray, if you will, that Fujifilm will do what Canon and Nikon have been doing and use nylon fill injection molding, because it makes them really tough. It's the same way concrete for bridges is reinforced with rebar. It's both flexible and stiff. It's the best of both worlds. That's why rebar is embedded in the concrete for the roadways. And I think that's something Fujifilm can improve upon. But I mean, that's really, really, really nitpicking. I mean, so far as this camera, it's incredible. I'm so happy. The most expensive camera I've ever bought was my GFX 100. But I used that camera on 2 different borrows last year for, what, like 2 months or something like that. It was a long time. I mean, I knew I wanted that camera. Like, I have to own this camera. This camera's incredible. I know it's expensive. I sold off a lot of stuff to buy it. I both saved up and sold off. And I am eventually getting to the point here. Sometimes I blather on. People love to tell me, how I'm sitting there blathering and I need to get to the damn point. I know. The point is that I have no affiliate links. I've been fixing cameras for ages. I've worked in 3 camera stores. I went to photography school. I've had a lot of cameras pass through my hands. And I tell you right now, straight up, while Fujifilm is not perfect, I've never been so impressed by any camera company in my life. And that is as serious and truthful as it gets. Look into my eye. Yeah? If I'm lying, I'm dying. There's nothing I wouldn't be happy with unless I was a super hardcore sports action photographer. Like a 500mm Nikkor or a 600mm, which is a beast. I sold off my 600mm Nikkor to help pay for my GFX 100. But Fujifilm knew that was a shortcoming of the system, and that's why they're coming out with a 300mm f4 and a 500mm 5.6. By the way, their Fresnel element lens, their DOE single element, the one element is a Fresnel lens. Or if you're in English, you want to say Fresnel, but here in the United States we say Fresnel, okay? I don't care if you say Fresnel or Fresnel. Over here we say Fresnel, right? Anyway, so very happy with the medium format. I also, too, if you told me 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever, it's like the people that are going to deliver the one thing that I've been waiting for so long, and this is the one thing I was waiting for so long, is an inexpensive, awesome medium format camera. I thought, well, Nikon will come out with it. Canon. Pentax? Pentax been making... Mamiya. Nah, Mamiya's too expensive. They're never going to make a cheap medium format. Maybe Sony, no fan of Sony. If you said it was going to be Fujifilm, I would laugh. No. Of course, that shouldn't have been a mystery to me. I mean, Fujifilm has been doing large format lenses, way back in the day. For film, that's a large format. Those lenses are incredible too, by the way. You can get them really cheap on eBay. cheap. You can set up a great tilt shift swing system for a GFX with bellows and stick a large format 8x10 Fujinon lens. Oh man, phew. Many respects better than a Schneider. Better than a Schneider? Yeah. There's some really, really good Schneider. By the way, that's like the Rolls Royce of 8x10 lenses for large format film back in the day. Schneider Kreuznach. Deutschland, jawohl. But anyway, I have to show my appreciation for... And by the way, I'm borrowing this camera. This is not mine. This is not my X-T4. This is my lens. This is my 16-80. But, you know, I can't wait to buy the X-T4. I really mean that. What am I going to do with my X-T3? I don't know. I know I'm never going to sell my XH1. Never going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do with my X-T3. And also, too, currently I own more Fujifilm cameras than I do Nikon. I own 9 Fujifilm cameras and 6 Nikons, I believe. 6 or 7 Nikons. That's surprising. But it shouldn't be surprising. I'm actually so is the word proud? Happy? Content? Pleased with? This, you know, Nikon couldn't have even done this good of a job on, if Nikon decided to come out with a medium format system, there's no way they could have pulled it off as good as Fujifilm did with their GFX series. Just not a chance. And they would have been radically more expensive. Like if Fujifilm made a GFX 50R, it would have probably cost $8,000 and stayed $8,000. And they would have been proud of it at $8,000. And so would all the hardcore Nikon fanboys. Even though I'm a hardcore Nikon fanboy too, you know, said the guy with Nikon tattooed on his hand, right? Anyway, I guess the point of this video, you know, eventually I'll get to the point, right, is that I think Fujifilm's making the best cameras currently. But it's just not my opinion, because opinions are useless. As I told one guy, he said something, he said, that's your opinion. I said, you know what, some opinions are worth a lot more than others. Said the guy that's been fixing cameras and lenses for ages and owned more of them than just about anybody. Yeah. And I'll remind you that I don't work for this company. You know, I don't work for them, and I don't have any affiliate links, and I don't sell anything. I will remind you of that fact. And that's an important point that should be driven home. Yeah, I'll never forget that guy's look. He said, yeah, that's your opinion. I said, you know what? Some opinions are worth more than others. He went, yeah, the truth hurts. Fujifilm.